And Mark, now we're going to move on into the two teams in this division that actually made the playoffs, and this will be the Detroit Lions. This is a team coming in that, before I ask my first question, I'll get through the arrivals that they got.
All right.
They got Darren Fells coming in, DJ Hayden, Jordan Hill, TJ Lang, Akeem Spence. They've got Ricky Wagner coming in. The thing I want to start with this team, because they have their core pieces still there. 9-7. Make the playoffs, get spanked by the Seahawks. Yeah, that's right. I said spanked because you lost. Is this a team that this year is ready to either take the next step and take the division from the Green Bay Packers, or is this a team that, hey, we are going to be a solid wild card team, and you better not underestimate us coming into that first game? Is this that year for the Lions? More importantly, can Matthew Stafford be that guy to lead them to that kind of a season to where we actually take, because I even told you before we hit record, I feel like the Lions each and every year, I'm like, the Lions aren't going to be that good. What? Wait, they made the playoffs? What?
Yeah.
I feel like that every single year.
Well, here's the thing for the Lions. I mean, they have a great passing game. Their defense is good. The running game was not that great last year. Not very good at all, really. But they have good pieces for a running game. So they have, once again, on paper, a lot going for them. But
is this the NFC on paper division?
Yeah, pretty much. But they went and they got some nice pieces to their defense through the draft. I'm happy to see some of that. I love Tabor. I love Davis. So I think those can be really good additions.
And those are two that can contribute right away.
Yes,
can contribute this season.
You know, the Detroit Lions were 9-7 last year, and the Green Bay Packers were 10-6 last year. They're only a game away from being able to take this division. So you asked the question
and the Vikings were only 2 games behind the Packers and 1 behind the Lions. You just got to throw us in there, too.
And if you only look at the first 5 games, the Vikings won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Vikings took home the Lombardi
They were
Trophy.
number 1. So, you know, this team is able to take that next step and win the division. Matthew Stafford's a phenomenal quarterback. Golden Tate proved that he can get it done even without Calvin Johnson. You definitely have some basically what I'm going to say is that Sam Bradford. I'm thinking about your Vikings. Matthew Stafford is that quarterback who can get it done with lesser guys. That was the big question without Calvin Johnson, but he went out and he proved last year that, you know what? It doesn't matter if I have Megatron out there or not. I am still going to put up elite numbers. I am still going to prove that I am one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, even if he's underloved most of the time, and rightfully so here in Chicago. But anyways, this team, I totally think they have the ability to take that next step forward and take it from Green Bay. The hard thing is just that Green Bay they have it on a death grip.
I'll say this. For the Lions, if you want to win the division, you have to beat the division winner. And that is, I just look at last year as the sample size. At Green Bay, you lose 34-27. Last game of the season, at home, you lose 31-24. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, Ricky, don't forget, we did have their number in the one game. Aaron Rodgers just had a Hail Mary. This Lions team just has not had luck playing the Packers.
No.
It's like the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers come to town, and no matter what the Lions do.
Well, the Detroit Lions just have bad luck anyways.
Whatever they do, Big Brother always wins in the end. It's kind of like I'm thinking in my head in the analogy, and I can't think of... You know what? I kind of want to say it's like Coyote and Roadrunner, where the Lions are constantly trying to catch the division, basically, which is the Packers. They're trying to catch the division, and every time they think they have it and they think they've beaten the Packers, boom, they get an anvil to the head. Boom, they get blown up by dynamite, and it just blows up in their face. Each and every time they play the Packers, they don't seem to have the number consistently figured out against Green Bay. However, you look at this Lions team, they went from week 9 to week 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. I had to make sure I was counting them right because there was a bye week in there. 5 straight wins, beating your Bears, beating my Vikings twice. And before those last three games, we're thinking, man, if this team can win even one or two of these, they can be a 10-win team. They can be a 12-win team if they win them all. Lose to the Giants, lose to the Cowboys, lose to the Packers. All
the real teams in that stretch.
Playoff teams they lose to. So this year, I think the Lions, and it's going to be hard because I feel like each team in this division didn't get any gifts when it came to the scheduling, unless you're thinking of the Browns as your only gift. But they got a hard 6 games of the season too. Arizona, they're a team where it's like, yeah, they sucked last year, but are they going to pick it up this year? The Giants, good team last year. Now they had Brandon Marshall. They just got better. Atlanta Falcons, I don't expect them to take a step back. Vikings at Minnesota, that's going to be a tough one. Carolina, are they going to come back to what they were 2 years ago? And then you got the Saints. Oh, wait, they just added, not only is that game on the road, they had Adrian Peterson, a running back who knows how to play you, who is used to seeing you. That's their first 6 games to start the season. So for me, the Lions, it's not just about beating Green Bay, but I think this team, more than any other team in this division, will need a hot start, will need a great start, or else the season might be like it could be like the Vikings, where it's like, hey, we lost 6 games, but then we turned it on after that and we were decent. But if you lose your first 6 games, not saying they will, just saying if, pretty much a death sentence.
Well, especially because you talk about the 6 games, the next 2 games are the Steelers and then at Green Bay. It's not like it gets any easier.
And if those are must-win situations, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, your first 8 weeks are tough as hell. Our first 8 games here. So it's going to be tough for Detroit, but they are a good team and they can get it done. You know, they can go out there. Unfortunately, last year, this team didn't give up a ton of points last year, but the issue was that they, were able to lose some of those key games that they really needed. You mentioned the 3 playoff teams of the Cowboys, of the Giants, and the Packers, and the Packers twice, really. And it was just when it mattered, the Lions couldn't get it done. And someone in the comment section is going to make a joke of, well, that's the Detroit Lions. When it matters, they don't get it done. And I mentioned them having terrible luck, but, that's unfortunately part of it. Aaron Rodgers is much too lucky with those Hail Marys. But, he kind of deserves it with that Seattle game. So whatever. Anyways, it's just unfortunate for the Lions. If everything says you should think, like, the Lions should be a favorite. There's so much that's been going well for them and been in their favor for a long time now. They just don't get it done when it matters. And they're one of those teams where I feel like for a lot of people, they are that, hey, I've been believing it and I keep getting proven wrong. I'll believe it when I see it now.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say that based off of what you just said, the thing that pops into my mind is Chicago Cubs of the NFL, where it's like, hey, you know what? Lovable losers. We'll win it one year, right? One year it'll be our year, right? And the Cubs also had kind of what the Lions are going through now in the late 2000s. I remember 2008. I know this is off of the Lions a little bit, but I'll get back to my next point with the Lions. But 2008, I thought that Cub team was going to go to the World Series. Got swept in the first round by, I want to say, the Diamondbacks or the Dodgers. That's who it was, the Dodgers. Kind of like maybe this year where the Seattle Seahawks just completely blew them out of the water and they didn't stand a chance in that game. One question I have coming in about this team, of course it's the offensive side because that's the kind of person, what kind of mind I have, is the running back position. Right now on ourlads.com, Amir Abdullah is listed as the number 1. But will it be him? Will it be Theo Riddick? Could it be Zach Zenner? Or could it be a guy who right now is listed as the fullback, but was a running back for my team last year, Matt Asiata. Almost call him Mike Asiata. Matt Asiata.
Well, I really don't think there is not quarterback. There's not a running back number 1 here. It's going to be
a committee.
Yeah, it's going to be a committee because they have a lot of guys
and they also
who
have
have
Dwayne
skill.
Washington.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys who have skill. They have a lot of guys who can get it done, but they don't necessarily have that one guy that's proven that he can take over. And you know what? You don't need it because your guys who can take over are Matthew Stafford and his wide receivers. So sure, you want to have better output out of your running game than last year, which was not very good. But you should be able to do that pretty easily. One of the big things that I would hope to see is, for this team to just go out there and just light it up. That's what we want to see out of the Detroit Lions. And, that's kind of throwing it back to the Megatron area, being able to just throw it right over you. I would love to see Matthew Stafford go out there and just completely take things over because this team, I know it's kind of a really simplified stat, but they gave up more points total than they scored last year, and that's not how you win games.
We're going to start a new thing, and by new thing, this will probably be the only team that I ask you this question for all preview, but I want you to finish this statement. Are you ready?
All right.
The Lions win the Super Bowl if blank.
The Lions will win the Super Bowl if their defense and their run game step it up. They have a good defense, but their defense needs to, their defense needs to stop other teams, sure, but needs to produce points on their own as well. If this defense can be a score-generating defense, and then this run game can complement this already really good passing attack, yeah, they can totally win a lot of games. I don't necessarily want to say Super Bowl because I don't want to make a bold Ricky claim here. But yeah, they can totally be in the competition to get into and possibly win a Super Bowl.
I'm going to say this. The Lions win the Super Bowl if Matthew Stafford has an MVP-like season. I think this is a team that, you know what? Golden Tate's great. Marvin Jones is good. But to me, neither of those guys they're not the sexy pick. I'm not saying that they're not valuable. It's just they're not the sexy guy to have there. The running backs, I look at it and I go, in my mind, nobody is stepping up. If this offense wants to do anything, if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, they want to win it, Matthew Stafford has to be unleashed and has to have MVP Matthew Stafford.
He was a dark horse MVP candidate for a while last season.
Maybe tone down the I know he only had 10 interceptions, but if he could do what and I know this is going to be hard, do what you do and take the ball deep, but maybe have more of a touchdown to INT as a Sam Bradford, like a 22 or 24-5 touchdown to INT, then that's my statement. And I think that this Lions team, if they want to do anything this year, the defense has got to be good because they've got a good defense on paper. But on the offense, Matthew Stafford has to be MVP Stafford if they want to do anything this season of not just being like, we went to the playoffs and lost.
Well, I just look at last year, when you're talking about teams that can win the shootout, you expect Matthew Stafford to be the guy who can win the shootout. But you just look at, how many points they scored versus how many points they scored, and they give up more points. And Matthew Stafford can turn it up, but he needs that support.
Well, and this is where we're going to turn the conversation on to you guys. Let us know down below, what do you guys think for the Lions? How are they going to do this year? What are some big positives for this team, negatives for this team heading into the 2017 season? Let us know down below in the comment section.